Hungry Days Collective.
This is Take Two.
The only funny German.
The only funny German. That's me.
Why? Why that?
Do you know any other funny Germans?
No.
Good. If you do, I have to kill them to keep the name. I don't know. It just kind of came about. It was supposed to be ironic in the start. I just kind of picked it way before you started comedy. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of funny because I don't do anything online, so I named myself the only funny German, and it'd be like ironic and funny. But then I actually started doing comedy, and now it seems like I mean it.
You put the pressure on yourself.
I put the pressure on myself,
completely, because like I can imagine, well, just you're not that funny.
No, the one thing I always get is people are like, oh, I have a German friend who's very funny, so you have to change your name. I'm like, no, no,
like,
I won't.
Good on ya. Cool.
There's not that much of a story behind it, really. It's just on a whim. I thought it was cute and funny as a name, so I picked it, and then people started making fun of it. So there you go.
Yeah. Is it a stereotype that Germans aren't funny?
Yeah. It is sadly, it's a stereotype, and sadly has some truth behind it too. I think it's a stereotype because people have that perception that Germans are like very caged in, that they're very repressed, kind of like what people say about Irish people too. But I think it's wrong. I don't think it's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends who you talk to, really. But there's a lot of Germans aren't. Yeah.
All right. So when did you move to Ireland? So obviously you're German, on the border.
I moved to Ireland about 3 years ago, 2 weeks before lockdown. How long ago was that now? That's about 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah, March 2020, so...
I lost time pretty much, somewhere in the middle. But yeah,
Amazing.
3 years ago. It was February 2019. Not February, November 2019. That's when I moved over.
Okay. Not too bad.
Not too long ago.
Mine would be end of August 2018.
How are you finding it?
All right. I think I had like a similar situation to you. It's just that, so I came here for my master's degree, right? So I was obviously caged in during it. I didn't really have a college experience just because I wanted to make sure that I got my piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then I just started working. And the moment that I was like, okay, I can now breathe and like enjoy Ireland on the weekends and after work, it was just like, no. So lockdown happened. And then after that, like I still haven't experienced Ireland much, in fairness.
Yeah, I don't know how much there really is to experience, if I'm honest. I'm a little cynical about it. I know it's like a beautiful country and it's really nice to look at and everything. But I think Ireland's a bit, for lack of a better term, a bit lame when it comes to like young people. Do you know what I mean? I think like there's not a lot of care put into what younger generations do with their life in Ireland. I think it's kind of like go get your degree, go work in a bar or a coffee shop and then do that for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And I feel there's no attempt to kind of get them to motivate to do more.
No.
Which is a shame.
It's such a shame, and I say that consistently. Ireland really, maybe the government, right, or the politicians, either way, they really forget about the youth.
Yeah.
And it's quite alarming because so many of them are moving away.
Yeah.
So many. And they're getting their education over here.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really fucking make a difference, you know? So they stay and then they fuck off. And that's just like a lack of investment. I think something just like as simple as street sports.
Yeah.
And putting a canopy over a fucking park. Like it rains. Could you not invest an extra 500 euros? Yeah. Like it's 500 euros on your like 1 million kids park.
Yeah, that's 100%. And then it's also... not to get too conspiratorial immediately.
Okay.
But okay.
Go on.
Nah. It's also, I think they don't care that young people are moving away. I don't think they don't care. Because when you're a politician, the only thing you care about is like getting voted back in. That's your job. You get elected and then you do everything you can. The second you're elected, that you get elected again. And young people in Ireland, they don't vote. There's very little voter turnout for young people. And the ones that do vote end up moving away. So because there's such a lack of urgency in young people, I think politicians are happy to just let that ride out, have the old people vote for them all the time so they can get re-elected and not really rock the boat too much. I think that's where a lot of stems from, because there's no motivation for them to do anything. Why would they do anything when they can just keep staying in power the way they have been for a while, you know?
I never thought of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah, I always encourage everyone to go vote locally and everything, because the only people politicians help is people who vote for them. Someone who doesn't vote for them, they don't care about because it doesn't help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you politically active in Germany?
Oh yeah, this is a nice question. Yeah. I used to canvass. You know what canvassing is?
No.
Canvassing is when you go door to door for certain parties and you like try and motivate people to vote for them pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, I used to canvass for. I just shouldn't name who, but it's definitely more on the left-leaning side, I'll say that much. And I used to do that 3-4 times a week on during the height of elections. I used to
That
for
takes
multi-parties.
like a lot of guts, huh?
Yeah,
Unless
but
you're naturally into it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm into it and I like care. I think it's important. I think that a lot of the problems that are currently plaguing people or humanity can all be solved by the next couple of generations if they just get engaged enough and you just make them realize, here, this is what if you do stuff and you get involved, things will change for you and things will get better for you. But if you're apathetic and you don't get involved, it's never going to change. People are just going to walk over you all the time.
What was a common response as you were going door to door?
I don't care. I already know who I'm voting for, probably the most common one, which because it was a rural area, a lot of the time that could mean I'm voting for who my parents or my brother is voting for, or my partner is voting for. And sometimes you could get a conversation out of that that would lead nowhere, but you could try. But most of the time it would just be like, I know who I'm voting for, and then no interest.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was quite discouraging though, wouldn't it be?
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. The thing is, it's volunteer work, obviously. So
Yeah.
you do it because you want to, and you do it because you want to try and make a difference. But there's nothing, you don't expect anything from it on the other end. Like, it's not something to have a career, and it's just something you do because you're 16 and you're all, what do you call it? Hopeful. Yeah,
you're
we're going to do this.
I can be the change. Greta Thunberg.
If I just talk to enough people, we'll
Be
get
open
climate
for
change fixed.
conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like... sorry, I'm just thinking, like, I remember seeing Greta Thunberg just pop up on TikTok now all of a sudden. And I'm like, all right, hello, okay. Like, now this is where all the kids are at, including her, you know what I mean?
I think she's an interesting case, though, because she's like, to me, she's the prime example of what the whole crux of the problem is. Because, like, young people love Greta for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. She, like, fucking, from the age of, like, 14, went out, made her own future, made her own career, worked really hard for what she believed in. And then old people hate Greta. Like, I don't know if you ever see, she's like super unpopular with the older demographics, where there'd be like YouTube videos like exposing her for being a fraud and stuff. And you find all that stuff and you just kind of realize it's not about the ideas or what they say. It's mostly a lot about like being afraid of young people or being afraid of new ideas, trying to keep that down, you know?
I think it's also just like a power dynamic sometimes as well, where it's like, no, I had to wait my turn. So you have to wait your turn. Sit down, little girl. Sit down, little boy.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
There's definitely a little bit of that with her.
Like, they really don't give her enough room for error, considering she is such a young child. I think that's just like with any kid celebrity, in fairness.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's not only... Yeah, it's that, and it's also because people on that side of the spectrum, they click onto anything. If you look at like what they get mad at her for, where it'd be stuff like... You see, like, people getting mad at them because she has a script. She reads out, like, speeches and stuff. And they're like, oh, she's always on the script. She has improvised stuff. And then you have, like, other political figures do much, much worse stuff on the daily, but no one cares.
You have Joe Biden saying, our heart is with Iraq instead of Ukraine, or something like that.
That's George Bush.
Biden did something as well, or Uruguay.
Maybe.
He mixed up Ukraine with something, and Kamala Harris was in the back going, Ukraine.
Yeah, well,
he's falling off.
Or when Trump said he would shoot someone in Times Square.
Kung flu.
Yeah, no one cared. Everyone just moved on. That's how it works. That's a big problem in Ireland as well. To a lesser degree, though, it's not. It's a little more professional down here, but the same issue exists where
They sweep it out. The one thing. So what I was really impressed by, remember, I think it was last summer. When lockdown 3 or something, and Leo Varadkar was pictured at a UK festival picking his nose. And I was like, fuck me, why the fuck is no one, like, this should be like front paper, like news. Back home, everyone would have jumped on it. And I'm not saying, so like, sometimes people take it to an unhealthy extent, but he got nothing.
Nah, he got off scot-free.
Like, completely. Like, they literally just waited out for like 2 days. None of the fucking news stations dared to talk about it.
Yeah.
Which was so embarrassing.
I think if anything, it actually nearly helped him a little bit, because a lot of people saw that him in the park with the cans shirtless, and we're like, that's what I want to do.
That's what I want. But it's
Yeah.
funny because when journalists or whatever were asking him, like, why won't we follow the UK model before? He said, oh, the UK is not like an example that we want to take off of.
Yeah.
And then he's pictured picking his nose at a festival, and
Yeah.
you're like, sorry. You know what I mean?
That's a very good point. It is very hypocritical, but then
Yeah.
I don't think Leo cares. I think he
No.
doesn't care about anything. It's those people, they care about getting re-elected, and that's all they
Re-elected, that's it.
care about.
That's
Nothing else matters.
just to have like your really nice headshot or something.
Yeah, and
like,
to keep getting that sweet money as well. That's the thing. You become a politician these days because you want to make money, not because you want to help people. And that's the big difference.
I'm so curious as to what the money is like for them.
Oh, very good. And it's not only
Like on the millions good, do you think?
It's not only the money you earn, because the salaries are not that high.
Yeah.
But then you finish and you do public speaking tours for the rest of your life.
That's it.
And you make insane income for like no work.
You want to be a public figure.
Yeah, you just do that. I mean, you see like American politicians spend their whole life just shaking hands after they retire and making money that way, posing for photos. And it's easy. You don't never need to work again. You just do that forever. And
You're happy, yeah.
yeah, and your family's after you have power. Your children will have private schools. Everything is forever going well for your family, you know.
Yeah,
And that's why they get into it, not because they want to help.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, this has gotten very political very quickly.
Yeah, you're a comedian.
Comedy.
Tell us a joke. Tell us.
No, it's the worst. Do you talk about Sinead about that when people ask you, tell me a joke?
No, I didn't ask her that. Do people tell you that?
Yeah, people ask that.
I was only saying that. Like,
Yeah, I know. People always are like, oh, you're a comedian, tell me a joke or say something funny. And then it's always really hard to do.
Ew.
It's always very hard to do because it doesn't work that way. You know?
Of course not.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, like, you could tell me, would a comedian be defined as a good one if they are naturally funny, or are there comedians that are just like not that funny in real life, but then the moment that they're on stage, it's like, what the fuck, I've never seen someone like that.
I think there's a bit of both. I think there's some people who are more naturally funny, but I think there's also people who are very scripted, and they have like a plan that they're going to pursue on stage, and they do that. I think in general, though, all comedians are not funny in person. And I think we're funny when we hang out with each other, but because when you get to a certain level and you do it so much, and I do it like 4 times a week now, I don't want to be funny in person anymore, you know what I mean?
It's your job.
Like when I'm
clearly,
sitting somewhere in like a pub and someone else is like taking over the conversation and cracking jokes, I'm like, just go off.
Yeah.
Less for me, because it gets tiring after a while, and you kind of want to keep that energy for the stage.
For sure. A lot of people have said that as well, like with a podcast. It's like, oh, talk, Deb, like you do this. And I'm like, no.
Wait, you do a podcast? Give me a conversation.
Yeah. Lead the
That's
way.
crazy.
And it's like, no, I don't want to. Like, I'm done. Like, my brain after a fucking conversation is just like caked, you know, like it's done.
Yeah, I get you.
Your style of comedy, is it scripted?
It's a bit of both. I've been mostly scripted when I started out, but it's loosening up a little recently. Because I started out, as you probably could tell in the first 10 minutes of this conversation, I'm quite an interested person in like societal things. So I wanted to write comedy about things I care about. I wanted to write comedy about like things that I find funny because they're hypocritical and things. So it was very scripted in the start. I was, just had these things I wanted to make fun of in Irish culture. And then more and more it became looser and looser and looser to the point now where it's just, you have certain jokes that you know you have and you hit them, but the rest you can weave in between, you know?
Yeah.
Bop and weave.
Do you do crowd work?
Oh, yeah. I like doing crowd work.
Yeah?
I like doing crowd work. It's very good.
Which bit is your favorite if you were to say for an entire set?
My favorite thing about a set is, my favorite thing about comedy is, and this is very specific, so only people who've been to live stand-up comedy shows, go to live stand-up comedy shows, will know this, that when there's always a moment where a comedian will walk up on stage and he will say something that everyone in the room was thinking the entire time before, and it just explode.
Okay.
Like there's something in the room that was weirding people out, that they saw the entire, like a weird object in the background, or one person who was being loud, or just something that happened. And then the comedian would come up, make a joke about exactly that thing that everyone had on their minds.
Yeah.
And the room just explodes apart. That's the most beautiful moment.
Like everyone relaxes then, and it's just okay, relate.
Yeah, there was this one, a good example would be, there was this one teacher in one of the gigs that one of my friends did, and the teacher would just not shut up. He would heckle, keep heckling, keep talking about being a teacher, doing all the comedians. And then my friend went up and he said, "Oh, is the teacher still here? You better shut the fuck up. This is my classroom now." The whole room was like, thank you for saying this.
Finally. Oh,
and
that's
I think that's
lovely.
magical moments. That's the most magical ones, because
Take me back to your very first gig.
my very first gig. Okay.
So slightly before that, what I mean is like, okay, I think I'm gonna sign up.
Slightly. So I always wanted to do comedy when I live in England. I wanted to try it because I've always been interested in it. I learned a lot of my English from watching comedy. And then when I researched in England where I lived, there was nothing. Like I had to go take a 2-hour train to London to do an open mic. And I never really got the motivation to do it. And then I moved down to Cork City. And when I moved down there, I found an open mic immediately in a place called The Roundy. And it was very close. It was like a 10-minute walk. So I saw that an open mic on that Monday, and I decided I'm just going to go in. I'm going to do it. I'm going to write like 4 things that I find funny. I don't even remember what I joked. It was all trash. I think I made a joke about like horoscopes or some boring stuff.
Wow.
And I just did it. It went really well. And then your previous guest, Sinead Walsh, told me to come back, and I came back. And eventually it devolved into a career.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's
That's how it
obviously what now? So like 3 years ago, I'm saying, or
Yeah. Realistically, I've done it for like
Realistically.
9 months. But
consecutively.
yeah,
probably.
with lockdown included, like 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what have the 9 months been like now?
Incredible and indescribable. I don't even know what to say about it. It's it started out from something that I thought would be cool to do to something that I can't stop doing. To the point where I take 3-hour bus rides to Dublin on the regular, to the point where I'd work my normal job way less and less, and I just focus more and more and more on this, and it's freeing.
Yeah.
It's very freeing.
So one time when I asked a question on my Instagram on like, what would you want to ask a comedian? Someone said, how do you get into it?
Into the mindset before.
No,
Like before
not
you
just
go
the
up,
mind.
or-
I don't know if it's like from a practical sense. I'm guessing you just sign up for it.
You just go to an open mic, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the big encouragement.
Open mics.
And that's the best. I would say if you know someone who's into comedy, or you want to get into comedy yourself, go to a local comedy show, find like a free entry one, if you don't want to commit any funds to it. And then just talk to one of the comedians afterwards and ask them, hey, think about doing comedy. What is like an inclusive, supportive open mic now I can go to? Because some of them can be horrible experiences too. So you just ask what's like a good inclusive one I can go to where I can have like a nice little experience and dip my toes into the water. And you just go there. Comedians will always want to help you. Like they will always want to help you get into it too.
Yeah. And after that, you were still just signing up for open mics as you went. So
Yeah.
any gig that came by, you signed up for.
I did any gig that came by for a while. I did the open mic every week in the Roundy in a club called the Coco Club. And then after lockdown, when lockdown ended, the guy who owns the comedy club reached out to me and basically was like, hey, I like to sign on these new young comedians into like a sort of internship when I think they're talented and I want you to do it. So I did that. I was put on a small salary and started working there every week and been just working it out since then.
That's so cool.
It's very cool. Shout out Cornelius.
Good on your Cornelius.
He's the best.
What a lovely name.
He's the best, man. If you're ever looking for guests, reach out to him. He's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He's awesome.
I'd be like, do you have anyone?
He's awesome. He just runs a comedy club, has like a wife and 3 kids, and just smokes weed all day. He's the best.
Does he want that on?
Oh, yeah, no. He has a
Okay.
podcast where that's all he talks about.
Oh, okay. Amazing. That's good. I'm looking out for you, Cornelius, right? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not here. I'm not that funny, though. So, like, I'll just reach out to you for different reasons. Anyways. Okay, so it's open mics and all that, and now you're doing it. You're gigging 4 times a fucking week. You're
Yeah.
catching buses from Cork to Dublin.
Yeah, which is fun. It's stressful, but it's fun.
Do you get tired?
Yeah.
Do you drink coffee?
A lot of. I switched from. I used to only drink mochas because I was like the sweet tooth to now only drinking like espressos and flat whites and like way too many. But it's mostly the day job. Like the actual comedy is not that tiring, but if you have to work an extra job as well to pay the rent, that's
the juggle
really
that's
takes it away.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you right now. Like, oh, it's so bad.
And that's kind of, to loop it back around, I think that's a big problem with creatives in Ireland, is that we're not encouraged to take that leap. It's like, no, do not quit your job, or always work your job. Don't try anything. Don't try take a risk. Just do the safe thing all day, every day. And there's no other encouragement. There's no artist fund. There's no creative fund. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's very tough. Like, it's scary to the point where I don't know how some people do it. And like, I constantly try to consume advice or content in the sense of like figuring it out, and a lot of people say like, you have to take that risk. Of course you have to take that risk, but then it's also like, I need to make sure that there is a roof over my head. You know, there's a lot of things where like it's not even about like easier said than done, because everyone has their priorities that they have to keep up with. But like, I don't know how that transition would look like.
Yeah, I think there's some good ideas flying around. Like, I really like what Austria is doing, where they have this program that if you want to not work and you want to focus on a creative hobby on the side, they have these apartments where you can move in for very low rent, like 250 a month.
Wow.
And they're very nice apartments. They're just a bit outside the city.
Yeah, like...
and that's how it works. You can live there for like very little money. You don't need to work. You can just do your creative things. And if it doesn't work out and you want to go back to work, you can do that. And I think that's a good system. But Ireland's far behind in that regard.
Yeah, that's what I... Like, very often, that's what I say. Like, I don't... It's not that I don't need to be in Dublin. I love being in Dublin and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'm paying less, but I move like further out and still doing this. The only issue is that, for example, a car, I have a driver's license, but then insurance over here, if I were to fucking purchase a car, would cost me way too much.
Yeah.
Like probably like 3 months worth of rent or something.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Car rentals, they're costing like $6,000 a week. What the fuck? Buses aren't going out.
Yeah, there's no
Trains
public
aren't
transport,
going.
no.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you have to decide between being poor or secluded.
Yeah.
And it's one version of health versus another version of health that you have to sacrifice. Because then like, you're losing your social health. Maybe a little bit of trees would be nice for your mental health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for sure. Like, you lived out in the country. I think only you can say.
Yeah, I get bored by countryside life, but even then, it's like, even the financial, and it's sad that it's the way it is, but financial stability brings people happiness these days.
Yeah,
like,
it
it's what it
does.
is. The more money, the happier people are, which is sad, but it's the way it is. And I think they're hanging that kind of over your head, being like, hey, if you just do these jobs you don't like, you'll be happier because you have money. Meanwhile, it should be the thought of, you do whatever is most productive for you and for society, and that's how you should make money. You know what I mean? Instead of forcing you down this path you don't want to, just for the promise of eventually you might be financially stable.
Eventually, and like, it's not even guaranteed now. Like,
not at all.
I'm not seeing people my age get like in Ireland get promoted to like, unless you work in like, unless you're a coder or a computer engineer, you're not going to be getting like promoted to any fucking nice salary.
And I'll give you an example. The example that I always bring up is the comedians, just because it's close to home, where Ireland has like an arts board, right? It has like an arts fund where they fund projects. Stand-up comedy is not officially recognized as an art form. It's the only type of performance that the Irish government refuses to recognize as an art form. So if you want to put up a stand-up comedy show, and even if it's like a fundraising show for a good cause, you cannot get government funding unless you go through like loopholes.
Why? On what basis?
There's none.
Like, isn't it
no
the same?
basis.
It's script writing. It's like, it's just not drama.
No, there just is no basis.
Oh my
it's
God.
just completely out of the nowhere. But they're not changing it. And then even now, I don't know if did you hear about the Creatives Fund?
I heard about it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like a good initiative. But then they have like 200,000 applicants, and they gave it out to like 200 of them, you know. So that's like entering the lottery. That doesn't help really people either.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like whose art is better. Like, I don't know, it's a weird one, right? So obviously, let's say you have 5 musicians. You can determine whose music is kind of like better at a surface level. But then it's like, you can't go, okay, this guy that looks like the next Dermot Kennedy is better than this rock band.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, who deserves the fund?
I think they do literally do it via lottery at the moment. I think they just draw people, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy that happens. It's unbelievable, but it's just where we're at right now.
Oh my God, that's so shit.
I think there's a good new wave of a good new movement of it changing, though. And I think it's showing in people like the 2 Johnnies or Foil Arms and Hawk or people like that getting more views than like Adhd has ever had.
Yes.
Off their own back.
Yeah.
You know?
No, the GAA catfish story. Did you like follow that? Or?
No, what was that about?
Oh my God. It's from the 2 Johnnies podcast. The way they tell their stories is unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. So talented. Long story short, there's this catfish that just literally keeps manipulating GAA players into being in like a long distance, no, not long distance, but like a relationship for like years. Never meeting up. And there's like an entire like trail of evidence and people coming forward with their own stories. It's fucking unreal. You have to give it a watch. It's literally like 2 episodes or 3. There's timestamps as well where you can like fast forward to where the good stuff happens. Super. But the one, this is what I'm going to tell you. So sometimes I struggle a little bit in like, not even confidence, but I go like, am I ever going to manage to create a community in Ireland, not being Irish?
Yeah.
Seeing, and I know that the support for like Blind Boy, the 2 Johnnies and all that is because of the years they've been creating as well. So like, I know that I've only showed up now.
Yeah.
But do you ever like struggle with that, like that back and forth sometimes?
I think that's a really interesting point. I think it's really interesting because I think that's also shifting. I don't think you need to build an audience in Ireland. I think these days, because if you look at young Irish people or you look at young immigrants like us, we're all basically European at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's really no cultural difference between like a young person from Germany or a young person from Ireland.
Okay.
They're into different sports and TV shows and like that's it. But like culturally, it's very similar. So I think you can aim for just growing and following online from people who maybe don't even live in Ireland.
Yeah, like beyond the border.
Yeah, and then it will come naturally. People will see that you do good content and it'll gravitate naturally. And I think their tenacity is important as well. Because as you said, like Blind Boy and those people, they've been at it for so long, you know.
So long.
Yeah.
And they're fucking doing live shows in so many different places too.
Yeah,
as well.
Blind Boy is a good example where he has
Madrid,
a lot of
Barcelona.
his fans overseas. Just a lot of them overseas.
Yeah, there's hope.
There's hope.
Yeah. I'm not being, it's not even like a pessimistic approach. I think it's just like I constantly go back and forth.
Yeah.
I kind of like told you this, right? So I'll just tell everyone who's listening. So right before this, I was like, oh, people usually give feedback to the guest and refer to me as the podcaster or as the interviewer. And I'm like, come on, like you listen to me for a fucking 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like I am pitching into the conversation. I don't just like ask a question and back out. Of course, this is a space for both of us to like speak. But how the fuck did I, like, I got so frustrated after that, being like, the podcaster from everything. Like, my name is in the title, assholes. You know what I mean? Sorry. It's
you assholes
Debbie.
listening to this.
Yeah, it's Debbie, by the way. Like, you know what I mean? Come on.
Now I fully understand what you mean. I think sometimes, especially online, feedback can be very dangerous. Like, and we haven't even talked about this. I have like quite a following on TikTok. I kind of get the same thing where like I love them because they watch my stuff, but I also hate them because of the shit they say. And
did you ever get any backlash, like proper?
Oh yeah, so much, man. So much. In the beginning, I used to make a lot of videos where I used to make fun of England, Just make a lot of fun of England because I unironically think England's like the worst country in the EU for living, because I lived there for 5 years, so it comes from experience. But I would have a lot of like middle-aged English people get very mad at me and be like, "What does this for?" And I know, what are you saying, bruv? All that stuff, and I had to deal with that for a while. But you just ignore like negative attention that never stays online.
It doesn't.
It's only the positive attention that stays. Negative attention goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought of that, actually.
Yeah, that's why I said I wouldn't worry if they're not giving the feedback that maybe you expect.
Oh, they gave me a compliment, you know. Yeah. The podcaster was great. It's just like a backhanded slap. It's like, good on you, unknown person. You know what I mean? I was just
I wouldn't worry too much about it, because eventually that will shift too.
Yeah.
Eventually enough people will like and see your vision for it, and they come around to it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that consistency. Probably with you as well, doing like 4 gigs a week.
Yeah.
You know, to the point where now it's just like, it's not just that German guy. It's Daniel.
Yeah, that's the
thing. Do you introduce yourself as Daniel, or do you introduce...
I introduce myself as Daniel Lukas. It's my stage name, but sometimes I get introduced as, "Oh, this is the only funny German," which is fine. Like,
yeah, it's your brand.
Happens. I don't really mind that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just go by the podcaster from now on.
Yeah.
I'll just follow the interviewer.
The interviewer.
The interviewer. I'm pretty sure there's like a fucking company or something that goes by the interviewer.
Yeah.
Has to.
Definitely trademarked. You're not getting that.
Damn it.
But if anyone watches or listens to this, please put a comment underneath saying Debbie did a really good job and the German guy was okay too.
Yeah. The Maltese and the German. Do you like German sausages?
Oh, I love German sausage. German food's good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's underrated.
I don't like German sausages.
Really? Why?
Maltese sausages all the fucking way.
Huh?
I don't know, man. Like one time I remember I had a friend who's half German, and his German dad cooked these German sausages, and I did not like
What sausages were it?
White.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's
stinky.
grill sausages, yeah.
They were a bit smelly, I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't know.
They're a bit smelly.
Now I don't know if it was the state of the sausages. Are they meant to be smelly?
No, they're not meant to be smelly. I think they might have gone off.
I was paid.
Well, you said he was half German, so he didn't obviously.
His German dad, though, that's fully German.
Fuck. Then
whoopsies.
He lost his German card now.
He did. He definitely did.
You ever had a currywurst?
No, what is that?
That's the best German dish.
Okay.
It's like a sausage, and it's in this curry tomato sauce, like a bath of it.
All right.
And then there's like curry powder sprinkled on top, and the sausage is cut into tiny little pieces. And you eat it with like a little wooden fork. You eat the pieces.
Love that.
It's good. It's very good.
Do you cook German food?
Sometimes, yeah. I don't cook. I don't cook that much like extravagant. I eat like wraps mostly because I'm busy. So I always just make a wrap and then I go.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Recently, right, I got into... So I'm really behind with like Irish food in general. Chicken and herb stuffing sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just shoving bread with bread. And I love it. I love it.
Or like breaded chicken.
No. We're talking like, you know, like chicken stuffing or like the herb stuffing.
Okay.
Those are breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
In between a sambo. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Sometimes you see the chicken rolls where it's like breaded chicken with like chicken stuffing, and then in a white bread roll, and it's just carbs and carbs and carbs. But
oh yeah, like
delicious.
Complete nap after that, but like the chicken fillet rolls are coming through as well. Like
I think it's because Irish people are like so used to hangovers. I think that's why they're so big.
Oh, I love Lukas Adhd. Do you want to know the story with Lukas? My very first hangover in Ireland, and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? You know what I mean? I kid you not, Daniel. I get an ad by Lukas Adhd with this guy lying in bed, drinking a Lukas Adhd and then putting it down and go like on Instagram, and it was something like for the next day or something. And I was like, I'm sorry. Hello. Thank you for the very first time. I did not get a really shitty wish ad, and I got Lukas Adhd. And after that, Lukas Adhd and I.
They know who they're advertising to, I guess.
I don't know how the fuck they gave me the Hangover ad.
Did you know that they used to advertise it as a health drink, Lukas Adhd?
It's a health drink for me.
Yeah, they used to advertise it. It's good for you. It makes you healthier.
It's probably for... I had a friend of mine telling me that when they lowered the sugar, like, grams in it, that the diabetics were very unhappy with it or something like that because they used to use it to regulate their sugar.
I think so, because it has so much in it.
Yeah.
That's why when they advertise a health drink, they get like sued by, I think it's the UK government as well, and they're like, you can't do this. This is way too unhealthy, and then they had to change it.
Yes, and now it's a sports drink.
Yeah.
That's fizzy.
Sports drink. I love Lucas. Lucas doesn't give a fuck. They're amazing.
So good. Which flavor do you go for?
Orange.
Orange. I go for OG.
Oh wow.
Original.
That's half. That's like cough syrup with sparkling water in, man. That's
exactly. It's like Calpol.
Do you prefer sparkling or still water?
Sparkling.
Good.
Sparkling.
That's very good.
Yeah, the Americans and the Canadians.
That's a German thing as well.
Is it?
We love sparkling water. Yeah. In Germany, if you go to any restaurant and you ask for a glass of water,
they give it to you sparkling. Ooh, yes, please.
All the time. That's like a big stereotype for people where they go, Germans drink too much sparkling water. It's like, no, you don't drink enough.
Does sparkling water hydrate you as much as water does? Like, is it the same thing?
It hydrates you and you get to breathe at the same time. I don't know. I have no idea if it hydrates you as much. I think it's bad for your tongue, isn't it? Because I read somewhere that
it's like a shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read that the bubbles like hurt your tongue, and the only reason we enjoy it is because it's like slight pain.
Yeah, for sure. Like spicy food.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Everyone is just weird in Europe.
We all just enjoy pain.
I'm going to go back to what you said about like Europe as being a European as an identity, right? Because I would have studied European studies, like that's my bachelor's degree.
Oh, nice.
I basically wanted to get into like politics and economics and law. We didn't have that. We just had European studies, so I did that. And the one thing, like my perspective on it is that Europe as a continent, or the EU, kind of lacks in one key thing, which is unity and identity. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that like the Irish are functioning as the Irish, the Germans, you know what I mean, so on and so forth. Where when it comes to not even just decision making, but just like in general, like we don't really come together and support each other, versus America being like one massive thing, which I think bites us in the ass because we are such a small continent, and then even smaller countries. Malta being like, what the fuck, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, I agree with that, and I think that it's important that it changes too. I think that Europe is strongest when it's like holding together, because otherwise we'll just get bullied from all sides, you know. Like America and China both just constantly want to bully Europe, and like Europeans all hate each other too. Like it's just it's complicated, and you get England leaving the EU and everything, and it's just a mess.
Yeah, like we're always competing with each other. It's like how can my country get as many funds as possible versus your one and your one and your one, you know what I mean? Which is, I'm not in favor of Brexit whatsoever and all that kind of stuff. That's the reason why I didn't go to the UK, is because I didn't know what was going to happen at that time.
I lived there while it was happening, man. That was scary.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the scariest experiences I've been through in my lived experience, because I moved there, and then 3 months later the Brexit vote happened. And during the entire Brexit vote, I was really like tense because I thought I might get deported from this. Like this is crazy. No one knew what was happening.
No.
And then the result came out being, it was what, like a 2% majority for Brexit, like a really slim majority. And I thought I was not going to be able to live there anymore.
No.
Like I thought I was going to be shipped off and everything. Luckily, it wasn't like that, but it's very scary.
It is, because it's kind of like you were made to feel unwelcome.
Yeah.
That's basically it. You know what I mean? Even though it was kind of fine, but like in hindsight, you would have still been able to live there. Yeah. It's just the overall concept of like, oh, did you vote in favor of me being here or not? You know what I mean? Which is like so shit. I didn't go to the UK because it would have been voted in. So I was like, okay, my hopes and dreams of like going to the UK for a master's degree are just like out there. But it was just dirty negotiations, and like it was still very much in the same set of view of like, okay, I don't know what the fuck is happening. I'm not gonna risk shit over to Ireland, you know, which like turned out.
I kind of feel you on that one.
Yeah,
I feel that, and I think it's a shame because like English people are really nice. Like I had a really lovely time there, and I made a lot of really good friends over there, and it's generally lovely. But there's just something really wrong in the mindset of their country, where they rather fail by themselves than thrive with the others, and it's not good.
Yeah, and Europe obviously lost the power. You know what I mean? Like they did.
Yeah.
And I think now it's just even more divided because with every point in time where like a country is not getting any benefit, it's like, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
There's
other countries are trying to leave, man. London is trying to leave England as well. Everyone's trying to leave.
Is it?
Yeah. What are they called? The London Independence Party. They will make London their own country. There's also the crazy stuff going on, man.
Oh my God.
It's wild. I think it's so detrimental to everything because like we have such big challenges facing everyone, like global warming. It's just affecting everyone. But everyone's trying to work out their own solution by themselves and not help the others. It's not what we should be doing. We should be sticking together and trying to come up with solutions together, you know?
Yeah, like national politics in each country, in my opinion, are far greater than European.
Yeah.
Where it should slowly transition to the opposite.
Yeah.
And like Erasmus plus programs aren't really the things, in my opinion. They unite Europeans together for like 2 weeks, but then they don't really do much after that. You know what I mean? Like youth conferences, like what the fuck is that going to be?
It doesn't really matter when the European Congress can't get like anything done as well. Like,
exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, the glitz and the glamour, woohoo, like summer camps. But it's like, fuck those summer camps for a bit. You know what I mean? Can we all get along? Like, it's kind
100%.
of like a Christmas party, and you're telling the kids to go off to the side, but then all the parents are arguing over grandma's will.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just
and
not
getting
working.
nowhere as well.
And getting nowhere.
And absolutely nowhere.
And then it's just like, okay, let's bring in Donald Trump.
Yeah, and then England just leaves as well. Just gets up and leaves.
Exactly. It's just like, get up and go. And you're like, all right, cool. Cheers. Bye.
I mean, I think we all would want more European unity, but I think it's really hard to convince people of that because national identities are also very important to people.
Of course, because like languages, culture, we're all so different.
It's interesting for Germany because our national identity is not important to us at all anymore, because obviously it was way too important for a while.
Yeah.
And then it became very unimportant now because we learned from our mistakes. And it's Germany's like the only country that really feels like a full-on EU, like everyone there is about the EU. Our national anthem sometimes doesn't even get played. We play the European Union anthem, like stuff like that.
Do you?
Yeah, sometimes we play the German one as well, but that's kind of what I think should happen. And I hope not every country has to start a world war to realize that, you know what I mean? Like the only reason we're at the place we're now is because Germany has gone through the worst of it.
In school, what was like history lessons like? Were you made to feel ashamed of what?
It's interesting. Not really. And I don't think anyone should feel ashamed about it because it's not any current generation's fault, obviously. But it is important to learn the history behind it and why and how it could happen. Because if you don't, then it will just happen again. Because it is, a lot of people think it's because of like some crazy psychopaths who took over the country, but it's really a lesson in how to use hate to like control power and control the population. And you can see that happening over and over and over again in countries all over the world, just to a smaller scale. And we just learn in history in school. We learn for like 6 years of our history course. We learn every single detail of how power was taken through the use of hate, and how people were whipped up into furor, and how you can disable the levers of democracy to make that happen. Because you need to know that stuff so you can see when crazy tyrannical people try and do it again.
So was it like a lesson on what the red flags are?
Yes, it was a lesson on what the red flags are, what the first step is. And you can see a lot of the same things in many politicians these days.
What about German politicians right now? German politicians,
they're very EU-centric. German politicians are they're very EU-centric. They're very, I'd say, they're kind of peaceful doves for the most part, which is nice, but they're also very feckless. You know what feckless is, yeah? Yeah, they're very feckless. Like German politicians won't really be passionate about things. They don't really fight for something. And when they are, then they're only passionate about it until they get to power. And then, the big money from the big lobbyists comes in and they kind of even out. But yeah, that's kind of how they are. They're very feckless. They're very, you know what neoliberal is?
I've heard of it, but I can't define it.
You might have talked to the leak about this. He'd be very proud of me here using this word. It's a modern liberal that, it's what I said, a politician that coasts in their position of power, doesn't really have the agency to make real change because they can just do what they do now and keep the status quo and not really disrupt anything. And just kind of take all the injustices in the world as part of the deal, That's what a neoliberal is. And German government is very much like that. Not too pressed to fix anything, but they're not going to mess anything up either.
And what would make it better, ideally?
More unity locally, I think, is very important. I think more unity with workers, more unity in local circles, more of the feeling of, hey, these politicians, they work for us. Like, they're supposed to do this because they want to help, but they're doing this right now because it's a career and and they're like being busy and they're like working their career and doing their jobs and doing their meetings and press interviews, but they should be doing this because they want to fix the country. Mm-hmm. I think that mindset needs to change fundamentally. In Germany, in Ireland, America's a completely different story. There's way more issues than that going on. But in because Europe is privileged in that it's so modernized and nice and everything's kind of working well. But it still could be working a lot better if people weren't satisfied with what they were given,
Yeah. That's and I also wish that the media sometimes can like focus on certain things a little bit better and like better things are pushed, Yeah. Because like, I don't even know what decisions are being made right now in the EU.
Yeah, that's true.
Clue. But then, unfortunately, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can live stream Parliament.
Yeah.
Like, we can watch and find out. So they are checking the box. What they're not doing is pushing the box, in front of us. Tune in.
They also don't do any commentary or anything that's engaging for young people because... well, it's obvious why.
Yeah, make it into a reality show. That's what
Every week we vote one off.
No. Like Formula 1,
Boris
right?
Johnson, you have to go home.
Oh my God, Boris.
You're out of the house.
No. Boris Johnson, right? What goes more viral? Him on a jog or him in Parliament?
Yeah, it's always him doing something stupid, of course.
Yeah, it's always him running. You know what I mean? Formula 1. It's quite like a European thing. Yeah. The moment that it got bigger recently is literally the Netflix series Drive to Survive. Boom. And now it's international and they're making like so much more money.
Yeah.
EU. Keeping up with
keeping up with the government.
Keeping up with the government.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're all really boring people as well. No. Boris Johnson's a bad example, but most politicians are like super boring.
I think that they could have amazing like things where it's just like bitch fits. When
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. It's like. Why isn't the translator available in this language? Like Maltese, I think even an Irish politician also had a similar like backlash when they were speaking in Irish and there was no available translator. So they stopped them and they're like, no, I'm going to keep talking in Irish. And they're like, no,
Yeah, remember this.
Which you understand in terms of like, if the German one has a German translator and is speaking German, so there has to be that equality. But then it's just like, all those bitch fits. Yeah, for sure. Please. Remember that time when I think it was Polish, when he said something about women and how they're weak and all that.
What did he actually want? In European Parliament? Or was this, oh wow.
And then
crazy.
I think it was the Spanish that then stood up to him. It was a woman. And she went full roast, like back in your place. Yeah. So there's a lot of viral moments. I think a reality show. That's her TikTok account.
Or we could just make him fight to the death.
Yeah.
That'd be good too.
MMA.
Yeah, MMA. I'm fully with that, man.
We have the seats ready to go. You know what I mean? It's already like that. MMA.
What we do is, if a politician disappoints the country, we get
gloves on.
We get everyone who's disappointed with the politician. They all get to fight him. If you're unhappy with Boris Johnson, you just get you can just fight him. You just knock on his door and you fight him. Yes. And then if you win, he has to legalize cannabis. I don't know.
Smoke it up. Yeah. That or TikTok. I think even just like some solid TikTok accounts would like help.
Yeah. There's a bit of that with the Irish Parliament, which is quite funny. I don't know if you've ever seen the viral clips. You ever seen them?
I've seen maybe like a few.
Because the Irish Parliament is like, in a normal meeting, it's like 35 people there. It's always like really empty. And those 35 people usually just like shout at each other and like insult each other and like go in, and it's very entertaining.
It's so good. It's probably way better than the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much more confrontational. If you want drama, watch European politics.
Yeah, that is very entertaining. I wish more people would, to be honest. But then again, it's also, what can the parliament really do about issues? Because there's so much national government power at the moment that's not being given to the European Parliament to do stuff with.
No. Being a politician nowadays is like being brought into a lot of business meetings with nothing happening.
Yeah.
It's just meeting after meeting, and that's it.
And then I also know why, I don't know, but I think I know why the media doesn't report it the way it should, because a lot of media companies, at least national media companies, are founded by government initiatives that are established by people like years and years back. Like a good example is Adhd. Adhd was founded by Fianna Fáil, and then the guy who founded it from Fianna Fáil hired his like cousins and nephews and uncles to run the RT for the first 10, 15 years. And so and the BBC is similar. The BBC was originally founded by, I think it was the Labour Party initiative. So stuff like that happens. And then that news corporation is, even though they try and be unbiased, there's people in the higher ups of the news corporation who have just direct family ties to certain political parties and certain things, and that makes everything very mucky, and that makes them unable to really be harsh and really go in and be really incisive.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, I think.
Like, I wouldn't want to be a journalist nowadays.
Yeah.
Because it's just like constant calls from your superiors being like, no, take that down.
Yeah.
My best friend would be upset about that. And you're just like,
Sometimes it can be stuff like that where it's like, oh, you can't report on this because Boris Johnson's team is upset, and the mindset should be like, who gives a fuck about Boris Johnson's team? Let him be upset. Who cares?
Yeah,
but
he's already doing whatever he wants. You know what I mean? So might as well. In terms of TikTok content, so you're creating quite often. You've got quite a following, don't you?
Yeah, it's like 90k people, but it's
just a few.
But they're all international. That's why I'm so passionate about like European identity, because a lot of the people that follow me are from all over Europe.
Okay.
And
I like how you went straight down into like teaching German people.
Yeah.
Like swear words and all that.
I thought it'd be funny because it breaks the mold a little bit of what people think about German, and they think like, oh, German is all very stuck up and stuff. So I was like, no, I'm just gonna show off some insults, and I'm just gonna insult you guys in German, and that did really well.
Yeah.
And then I took suggestions for other languages and explained their insults as well, and that did really well. And I think people just like it because it brings people together.
For sure.
Yeah, it shows new sides to different languages they might not know before.
Do you prepare and like batch record content?
Yeah, usually. I haven't recorded in a while because I've been too focused on the live thing, but I do usually come up with like 3-4 episodes and just record them in one go, and then edit them, edit them down, put them up.
Do you like editing?
Oh yeah, it's what I don't think we brought this up yet. It's my degree.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you want to edit my podcast?
Huh? Not for free.
I tried.
I did filmmaking in university.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Do you like doing that?
I also used to be a big dream. I used to really want to be a documentary filmmaker. I used to want to make documentaries. And then I realized that that's near impossible to like establish yourself in if you don't have a privileged background. Because loads of people who establish themselves as filmmakers, they come from very high privilege. So they have money to buy expensive cameras. They have rich family members who fund their movies. And I just was never going to have that.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave up on that. And then comedy came around and took over.
Okay.
And that's much more easy to establish yourself in.
Would you ever want to like document your story about being a comedian and that being the docuseries?
I love that. Yeah. I'd love to do that.
Because what I love about like the creative world right now is independence and independent creators, like we're talking about unity for one thing, but then like if you, I'm not saying for you, but like I'm sure that if people are constantly waiting around for said funding or said camera and all that, they'll never really get it. And we do have the tools to make things on our own. It's just about like like this setup right now. I wish we were at a studio.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. But like that's different as well. For Ireland, this setup is pretty professional. And especially for the podcast scene in Ireland, there's not many people who even do video. But if you get into like documentary filmmaking, the people you're competing
the competition. And I think it's also just like the industry is like Cannes Film Festival and Sundance and all 100%. That. You know, like that's how you get your recognition. It's not like a viral YouTube video.
Yeah, I could go. Some people do. Some people do that. And some people have very creative ideas that go viral on YouTube. But even then, it takes a certain level of organization. That's very hard to do by yourself. And I tried lifting things off my own back. I did like a couple of documentaries on local musicians in England.
Okay.
And filmed those fully off my own back, self-funded everything. And it would just not go anywhere. I would go, like, local arts councils would be interested, be like, oh, we like what you're doing, let's talk, have a meeting, never hear back.
Yeah.
I've been about funding with this company, never hear back. And it just go nowhere, because unless you have the sort of money to make something happen in that way, it's very hard.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're competing with, right?
Mm-hmm. It goes beyond being just a passion project or a hobby.
Yeah, it makes it difficult. But the film industry it was tough anyway, so I'm glad I'm not pursuing that anymore.
Yeah, no, you're in front of the camera.
Yeah, I enjoy it much more, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable enough, but it's just soul-crushing. Yeah.
I can imagine. I've always wanted to go into, like that, I always wanted to go into communications and just like, and it's funny how things come full circle where I am doing it without having done it.
Yeah.
But
it
again,
is always full circle, man. It's the same for me. I did this whole like film and video degree for the entire time, and then I found out that now that I'm in the comedy business, I edit all the videos and film all the clips for the comedy club I work in. So it's all come full circle, and it's much more fulfilling than any of the video work I did back then, because it's on my own schedule, you know.
For sure, and it's like that skill set that set you apart, probably, in order to like have said job, you know, it just like makes sense. It probably also helps you improve in your comedy because you're just watching comedy videos.
Oh yeah, I'm the only guy who's not disgusted by listening to my own voice, because I'm used to doing it all the time.
I actually have to film a TikTok video, but like editing your own podcast means listening to your own voice.
Yeah, you hate it.
Listening to myself laugh is worse.
You hate it. I'm so used to it now. I don't care at all anymore.
Listening to myself laugh, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Deb, calm down. You know what I mean?
I know. No, I'm so not, because I edit all the little clips for the Coco Comedy Club. We have like a little TikTok account where we post clips of comedians doing crowd work and stuff. And I'm always watching all the shows as well. And I have a very loud laugh at like comedy clubs. I'm a very loud laugher. So every time I edit these clips, I can hear my cackle the entire time. Yeah, the entire time. But I don't mind it anymore. I'm used to it now.
Well, at least it's a laugh. You know what I mean? It's not like a snort like.
Yeah, it's not a snore. It's a more like a loud cackle, though.
Yeah, I like a cackle. You also told me that you have ADHD.
I do have ADHD. Yeah. I got diagnosed when I was very young, and I was lucky enough to get put in development therapy for it as a kid, which means I have it a little bit under control now. But I do have ADHD.
What was that development therapy like?
It was a lot of focus exercises. It was a lot of just keeping myself busy. It taught me how to channel that into creative energy a little bit, which is the most fantastic thing about it, because as much as it can get in the way really badly. If you have to do like you have to fill out like a job application or something, it can take me like 4 or 5 hours. But then if I do something like I have to research for a joke, or I have to write this TikTok video, then it can be beautiful, because I can just get so much research and it's such a quick time, because the brain just won't stop. Just keeps going. Like all of this, if it's interesting to me, I can really channel it.
Yeah. And what helps you focus? Like, what techniques help you focus for anyone that has ADHD?
I think the most important thing is doing what you do and lean into what you like. Don't try and control it. If you have something that really interests you that day and you really want to learn about, because that's what it is most of the time. You have something like this really interests me and I should be doing this work, but now I want to read up on and study this for like 2 hours, and nothing is going to stop you. Just lean into it, just go with it, learn about it. That knowledge will become useful later.
I see.
I think that's the most important thing I've done. And I don't have it that severely anymore because I went for the theory, but I have a lot of friends who also have ADHD who got diagnosed much later, and they tell me similar things. Where it can be the best therapy was to learn how to use it.
Yeah, like use it for your advantage rather than letting it hold you back.
Exactly, that's
or
the
slow
thing.
you down.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's exactly it. And a lot of people can, especially if you want to research stuff, it can be very useful. You just have to keep yourself engaged.
Fair enough. When is your next show?
My next show's today at 7:30, but my usual gig is down in Cork in the Cork Comedy Club. That's where people can find me all the time, every weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Bada bing, bada boom. Always there.
Always there,
Always
all
there.
the time.
And sometimes up in Dublin.
Satisfying. Sometimes I'm in Dublin, yeah, and I'm back at 2 a.m.
Are you usually between Cork and Dublin, or is there other places?
There's I've gigged in Limerick, I've gigged in Galway, I've gigged in a place called Lochria. You ever heard of Lochria?
I've heard of it.
You gigged in Lochria. You gig. The thing is, when you do comedy, you end up gigging these like tiny little shithole places sometimes, where the crowd is just the entire population of the town.
This is my startup story.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
they're
mean?
the best, man. They're the best gigs. Because you're like the comedian. If I come up to Dublin, I'm just always one of the fucking comedians. Fuck him. You come to that little town, they're like, oh, it's the comedian. Here, do you want a pizza? Or here, have like 5 free beers. Like, doesn't happen up here. Up here, you're just
you're
another
just
grifter.
going to all the like mini counties, just being like,
Yeah,
hello, love me. Worship me. I am the only funny German.
I have to deal with the Nazi jokes afterwards, but you get used to it.
Oh,
You get used to it.
I can only imagine you just coming off a set and everyone being like, oh, he's cool. I'm just going to tell my best Nazi joke.
There's always, oh man, it's so real. I've heard them all at this point. I know all the Nazi jokes, every single one.
Oh, it's so fun.
I'm thinking about writing a book about it sometime.
I think
just
you should
cataloging
do.
them all.
Oh, yeah. Either that or like a joke book.
Yeah.
So like, this is kind of like a sad story, but when I was younger in primary school, I would have asked my grandma, bless her, for a joke book. And it was so that I could make friends. So I used to have my joke book, open it up and go up to someone and be like, knock, knock. So, which is really sad.
It's incredible.
It's incredible, but it's
you
really sad.
should get into comedy while you're doing a podcast. Bring the joke book back. That's what we need.
Just bring like a really old gammy joke book and just go and be like, knock, knock. Oh, they wouldn't like it though. Like, it's so successful. Do not follow my advice. You, however, should write a Nazi joke book.
Yeah, I will. Maybe I will do it eventually. It's an interesting part of it, you know.
Yeah.
Like everyone, because I'm a comedian, I'm German. Everyone will just instantly tell me their favorite Nazi joke.
jokes.
Especially in like rural gigs where there's always like a few very drunk people. I'd be like, German guy, come here. I got some jokes for you. And no.
Hitler walks into a bar.
Yeah. The only one that makes me laugh is one that, because I told you I live in a studio, and I said this earlier. I live in a studio in Cork, right? And in this studio, I have a guest room where loads of comedians sleep. My guest room is in my attic. So it's become kind of a running gag in the comedy scene where people are like, oh, you're staying in the German man's attic. Oh, you're sleeping in the German man's attic. And that makes me laugh.
Fair enough. That is true. It like goes back to stereotypes again. It's just like, own it.
I think it's, I don't even think it's bad to joke about.
No.
It's something I think about a lot because I think it's important to joke about it more than anything.
Is it part of your set?
I have a lot of history-based material. I try to be clever with it, but related to like Irish things and stuff. But yeah, I do have some jokes based on German World War history. But I think it's important. The reason I've always been comfortable joking about it is because I think humor is like the most effective way to keep stuff in the consciousness. I think people remember things much better if it's in the form of a joke. And the worst thing that people can do is forget about the Nazi Germany era. Like if that's forgotten about, it's gonna happen again.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, so I think it's actually quite important. I think it's important to be respectful. I don't think it's important to not joke about the victims. I think it's important to not like get joy out of the fact that it happens. But if you make historical references to it and you joke about it in a clever way, I think it's all fine.
It's kind of like what Sinead said, where it's like, make sure that your joke is funny and that you're the right person to say it as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you're obviously the right person to say it besides
Didn't I luck out?
Besides like someone else like saying it, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I agree. I never thought of it that way, where it's like you want to make sure people don't forget about it and don't talk about it. I think a lot of people are just like, in Ireland, in a lot of countries, where it's like, no, that's over with, like, sweep it under the rug, you know what I mean? Like, let's not.
Yeah.
Versus, no, keeping it alive, very much alive.
It's dangerous. It's very dangerous to sweep it under the rug, because then you will just get another politician, another person come up and, like, follow the playbook. Do the same thing, because it's still so possible to do it. You see every time a minority has like publicized hate against them. You can see it with African Americans. You can see it with trans people. You can see it with other minorities.
Yeah.
Every time there's any sort of hate being spread against anything, it's for someone else to gain power. And that just doesn't stop. And people need to remember that when that goes to its natural conclusion, that's what happens.
Exactly.
It doesn't go to any sort of innocent place, you know. That's what happens. Yeah.
It's very real. Shall we leave it at that, Daniel?
Should we leave that? That was a bit of a serious ending.
Tell me a joke.
Tell you a joke. I don't.
No.
I don't. But this has been very fun. This has been very enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate it. And good luck for tonight. It's going to be expat comedians.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm telling jokes to a lot of immigrants today. It'll be very fun.
Hopefully they get it.
Maybe there's someone from Malta there. Tell me something funny about Malta before I go.
The state of it, like.
the state. Oh, the state of it, like.
The state of it.
Do you know yourself? The state. That's very Irish.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Do you know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean. No, I don't.
Well,
you know?
you know-
What do you know that I know that I don't know?
Oh, sure, look, be grand. It's fine. Yeah, Malta. I can tell you fun facts. 27 kilometers wide.
Nice.
A third the size of Louth, which is the smallest. So it's like,
Really? Is that true? A
Yeah.
third the size of Laos?
yeah, we can Google it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's rough.
that's so. When people ask me why the fuck are you here,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll tell you why. Move to Louth. Move to a third of it.
Yeah.
Put in 480,000 people on there, and you can't drive out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You need a fucking plane.
And Laos a shithole as well, so that's
Yeah.
even worse.
And now I don't know much about Louth to compare to Malta.
What a perfect. No, it's a perfect example. You tell any Irish person it's like a third of Laos.
Oh, yeah, the moment that
it's
I'm
like the
in-
worst third of Laos. Actually,
Oh yeah.
the shittest third.
The shittest third. No pun intended. You know what I mean? But yeah, the moment that you tell them Louth, they're like, oh no.
I'm glad. I might use that in the gig today if there's anyone from Malta there. Thank you very much.
Oh, I think you should start your set with, is anyone here from Malta?
No, I'll do this joke anyways.
Now you have an added, like, it's not really history, but like it's a fun fact.
Yeah. That's
Trivia,
crazy.
crowd work. There you go. Ask every single person and then you're good to go.
Is Malta where's on the European map?
It's below Italy and above Libya. So it's
Yeah.
like furthest south.
Fair, yeah.
South. Yeah. So Mediterranean as it comes. When it comes, it's our language is a Europeanized version of Arabic,
Oh.
in my opinion. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, it's the only language that's Semitic but written in Latin.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very privileged, in fairness, to be bilingual, though. Because when I came... Okay, my accent, a few things and whatnot, but in terms of, like, fluency, you know, like, I didn't really struggle. The only thing I struggle with is... I don't know if you have it as well. Speaking entirely in English, like sentence from start to finish. Because back home, we bounce back and forth. So,
Oh, no, we don't really. I
Yeah.
struggle with speaking in English when I speak German for a while. 'Cause
yeah,
I
when
go
I
back
call
home,
my
yeah.
parents back home, the next meeting I have, I'm struggling.
Yeah, me too. And then I
So
also have an
weird.
English accent in German now.
People are asking me now, they're like, Deb, we're hearing an Irish accent, but like, where's the other bit from? Where's the twang? And I'm like, the twang is Maltese.
Yeah. Maltese. Nice.
Maltese. I hate it when a drunk man asks me where I'm from. I go mute. I hate it.
Really?
Hate it. Because it's just like, I always know that there's more questions that
Yeah,
lead
yeah.
up to it. And the questions, the questions are just like, oh, I don't know you exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is completely fair. So, yeah.
I get people are just curious, I guess.
Curious, which I will completely entertain when sober.
Yeah, no.
You know, when drunk, you're just like trying to chat me up with very stupid, like silly
Yeah.
questions where it's just like, okay, yes, we use a spoon and fork. You
Yeah.
know, like let's leave it at that.
Oh, you're German. Do you watch football? That's fine. I don't watch football. Not at all. But that's what everyone wants to know the second time
Why?
I'm German. I don't know. I wish I knew.
I wouldn't have thought that Germans are like stereotyped for like loving football.
Oh, it's massive over there. It's very big over there.
I think it's like overall in Europe
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
like England, Italy. Back
But
home,
that's what
how
everyone
it
wants
is.
to know about immediately is what football team I support. immediately.
If it's not Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
That's it. You're not the real German.
It's the food good in Malta. I'll leave you off on this. I know we were supposed to wrap up, but I'm curious.
What?
The food in Malta, is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's like the national dish.
I don't know what the national dish would be. I do love my Maltese bread, huh? So we're very massive on bread.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. We have like gorgeous...
It's crazy. Just bread.
Bread. Maltese bread.
Nice.
Maltese bread. My favorite, like my first thing, but obviously we've got pastizzi, which is like it's like a pie with puff pastry with ricotta, or as you can get the pea one, like pea filling.
Okay.
Very good. Very cheap. Amazing. Our pizzas are slightly different, but you can also get
you say pizza?
Pizza.
That's what you say in Germany, is that pizza?
Do you?
So pizza, yeah.
No, I'll refuse. I've changed a few things that I say. So like, oh yeah. So like, look.
There's two Z's in this word. It's pizza. Yeah.
Pizza. Like, fuck me.
I agree. Fuck these English-speaking people. They don't know anything.
So one thing. So we drive on the same side, but like whenever I used to say like driving, I go, oh yeah, manual.
Yeah.
And they're like, manuel. Manuel. I'm like, manual. And they're like, manual, not manuel. I'm like, fuck off. So after that, like after so many people, everyone, whenever I say it, like even if I'm trying to like give a little zinger and explain this whole thing, they always go, manuel. So I always say manual.
Does anyone ever say
Panadol, not Panadol?
Yeah. Does anyone ever say it's cute when you mispronounce words? Because that's what I used to get all the time. People are like,
no.
Oh, you said that word weird. It's so cute. I'd
no,
be like,
people
no,
say that I sound like a terrorist.
I genuinely don't. Wow. Wow.
Oh yeah. So
yeah, people say I sound like a Nazi too sometimes.
Yeah,
I get
there you go. Exactly. For me, like Maisie, like the puppy. I remember the other day I was trying. So she goes up the steps but can't go down the steps.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting outside the step being like, I was trying to work on her recall. Maisie. And I'm trying to shout louder the further she went. And it's like, Deb, you don't sound nice right now. So I try to do something with my voice where I go, Maisie. Maisie. Because as my voice gets louder, it gets deeper and I sound angrier.
Oh, fair.
Probably for you as well, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I like it. I like sounding angry.
Oh, I love sounding angry. Yeah. The Irish people don't, though.
They love it. Maybe that's because I'm German. When I get angry, they're like, oh, it's the funny German guy.
No, I think it's because, like, you're very, like, happy-go-lucky sort of, and like you're always smiling. For me, it's like I've got resting bitch face. I've got like a very weird accent, and when I'm angry, I just speak Maltese and start swearing like no one. So like there you go for a stereotype. You know what I mean?
Amazing. That's amazing. I just have the image of you like just leaning out your window up there, just shouting Maltese angrily at the kids.
Oh yeah. No. Look, I'm nice.
Okay, I'll take that.
I just refuse to shout, so to make sure that I'm very aware of how I sound. But yeah, that's basically it. That's Maltese to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad I inquired a bit.
You inquired a bit. You got some like facts. Now we'll go to Louth together.
Yeah, we'll explore a third of Louth.
A third of
but
Louth.
Only Louth, no more.
That would be a nice documentary for you.
I don't know if anyone would care about Louth, to be honest.
27 kilometers, we'll just figure it out. Whoopsies. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me, Daniel.
No worries. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming up. And thank you so much for listening, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yes, the podcaster did a good job.
I didn't make it. Next time, guys.
Number Days Collective.